HeyGears are back once again with a new printer called the HeyGears Reflex RS, but the question we all need answered is, have they learned from their mistakes of being locked in, and more importantly, have they listened to your feedback in the comments section from the last time they released a 3D printer? Well, today we are going to find out, but let me tell you this first, brothers and sisters, this is not a review. For full disclosure, HeyGears have paid me for this video, so I cannot give you my unbiased opinion, but I can give you the facts and show you the results. Treat this as an advertisement. Still here? Good, because there is a lot we have to cover, and I have to print out some really cool minis as well for some future projects, so let's get into it. The first of a few models that I am going to be printing is this killer chain stealer corrupted AdMech, but I've been playing with an idea I've had for a Nurgle infected dark mech army, and this could be the model to start it all off. The screen has been upgraded from the Reflex as it now has an 8K screen compared to the 6K that it was before, and it is also coming in at a respectable 29.7 micrometers resolution, which is good for Warhammer Minis. HeyGears have sent me some of their PARP10 resin or PARP10 resin, which is the same formula as another resin, which you will 100% want to know if you're looking at this printer. And they also sent me their water washable resin. Tell me, brother, what has your experience been with water washable resin? Mine has been ups and downs, admittedly, so I'm actually really interested to see how this one fares. There are two fat options with the Reflex RS system. One is the standard fat that comes with the printer, and the other is a heated option that comes at a $199 premium. That means for those that are lucky and live in warm resin printer friendly environments, then you just saved some money on this printer. But for my shed manufactorum, I will need to use the heated fat. The heated tray works by heating the resin directly through the tray, which HeyGears say is more efficient and energy saving. I'm going to be using the HeyGears PARP10 resin that they sent out for the first lot of prints. But resin is an interesting thing to bring up now, because HeyGears previously had locked down their systems to only use their own resin, which the community was not happy about. So, has their stance changed with this new Reflex RS printer? Unfortunately not. However, it's not all doom and gloom, as HeyGears have released a new resin called the PAS10 or PAS10, which basically stands for Standard Modeling Resin. The formula is exactly the same as this PARP10, but they are able to make it cheaper, as it costs $32.99 for 1 kilogram, which, to be fair, it's a decently average price for resin and much better than what they were previously charging. The printer uses a auto resin filling system that's designed to work with their own bottles. The PARP10 comes out very slow at the start, so my advice is to pour some out into the fat and then put it back into the filling zone. The printer also has an automatic leveling bed, which is just handy for setup. I loaded up the pre-supported version of the model into the slicer and used some of its features like this printability checker to see if there might be any problems. It did bring up an error for each part, and after using its repair function and pressing slice, it said that there could still be problems. I decided to print them anyway to see how it comes out. Now, I will admit I did try to trick the printer by pressing print before the resin started to fill, but the printer is smart and didn't start because it was waiting for there to be enough resin in the fat. So, printer 1, Sam 0. One pretty cool thing about this printer for us data nerds is that you can see the amount of force being generated by the print each time it is being peeled off the FEP. Another thing that I really like is the way the time remaining is displayed. I appreciate the format that it is shown in. After the print had finished, I checked the plate and sure enough, there were quite a few problems. I'll give another point to the printer, but now I can test out the Blueprint Slicer's one-click slice feature on the unsupported models and see how much time it could potentially save. It unfortunately kept orientating the models with the faces downwards towards the plate, which means that the supports would be placed on some of the most important parts of the model, which isn't ideal as they can leave marks when being removed. I kept the one-click slice settings for a majority of the plate and use the different orientation settings found in the blueprint slicer, and then use the auto supports feature. I changed some of the settings to match what I would currently use, as the original settings were a little chunkier than I would like. I'll leave these up on screen for anyone that likes to know. So there is one thing that I have spotted, and I'm interested if some of you have spotted it also. The tubes on some of the parts have not been fully supported. And I will say now, I don't think this will print. Anytime I have seen tubes, they have always had supports on every part of it because of the way the islands form. So I let it print anyway, because either it works and this printer is filled with heresy, or it fails and it's a point of feedback I can give back to the brand. I cannot believe this actually worked. This is the area that I thought was gonna fail. Okay, so printer 3, Sam 0. I can't believe that print actually worked. This printer is really something else, and I wish this video wasn't sponsored because it's bloody good so far. The supports came off smooth and easy. They were based on my light support settings and they have worked perfectly for this plate. I realized I'm a donut and forgot to print the bottom half of the body, but in my defense, the file name is called base, so I assumed it was literally the base. I printed off the base and a load of my new prototype sandbags that I'm currently selling on eBay and Etsy, which you should check the links down below or the QR code on screen, and support the channel while also getting yourself something useful. I used the one-click slicer again, and of course, the prints came out great. Except the only thing I can critique on it, and feedback for the brand, is the supports the slicer uses leave pock marks on the models. These can be trimmed down using a hobby knife or sandpaper, but if HeyGears could add an option to optimize this for one-click slice for miniatures, that would be seriously immense. HeyGears have took on my feedback and will develop more configurations for the one-click slice for use with minis. Before I test out the water washable resin, here are a few close-ups of the models printed out in part 10, which, like I said before, I've been told by HeyGears is identical in formula to the past 10. What do you think so far? Let me know in the comments down below. I want to try out this water washable resin to see if it's better than the ones I've used in the past. But before I do, if you want to support the channel and gain access to possibly one of the best Discords in the universe, then become a Patreon or channel member today. The water washable resin is a lot more fluid than the PARP modeling one, which makes sense because HeyGears have said that this is the fastest printing resin in the lineup. The slicer also says that it can only do 50 micrometer thickness compared to the 50 and 30 of the PARP before. I have been told that 30 micrometers will be coming to the water washable resin soon, which is great. I will say for both resins, there were no noticeable smells to me in my environment, but your mileage may vary. I printed out some more sandbags with the auto support setting that I tweaked to try and get as little pox marks and pimples as possible, while also pushing the printer. I only did a small batch because with the sandbags done before, a lot of them had the support marks on them. So these are the settings that I've ended up on that work for me. It's a 0.22mm tip with a 0.05mm penetration. These worked out better in my opinion, and I could do a little bit more tweaking on it, but I want to print out another cool mini. The pre-supports from the first plate of minis failed, and it got me thinking, maybe this printer doesn't like pre-supported minis. Maybe it is limited to only plates that have been sliced with its own slicer. Well, yet again, the printer has shown me up and made me out to be a fool because it printed off this pre-supported mini from Miniac just fine. Printer 4, Sam 0. The water washable resin can be washed in water like its name says, but I always wash my minis in methylated spirits, and that's because I find it gives a better clean, but not everyone wants to deal with smelly spirits, so that's why HeyGears developed this option. Their water washable resin is also marketed as being designed for lower water absorption, meaning it won't deform or crack over time. One negative for me on this printer is the plate design. The top is flat, so the resin just sits on top, meaning you have to hold it to drain the resin off before you can remove your prized minis. I will admit, I didn't have much time to do this while I was printing the models, but afterwards I designed a plate holder so that you can drain the resin from your plate, and I will upload it to cuts and printables that can be printed on the HeyGears machine or an FDM printer. This printer has been able to print everything that I have thrown at it with ease, and that's because it's a well-designed machine. But its positive is also a negative because it is still a closed loop system. When asked why it's still a closed loop system, they assured me that their closed loop system has went under thousands of internal tests on the same materials to make sure the success rate is high, which will suit newbies to resin printing. There's also algorithm magic happening between the slicer and the printer that affects everything from the supports to the finished model. I know why it's locked down, because HeyGears have told me. Basically, their printers are designed to serve designers, which means that they can focus on creating rather than the settings and learning the tedious parts of 3D printing like supporting, like us hobbyists would. That's the thing really. This printer is good for hobbyists that are looking for a reliable machine, but where I think this printer is worth its weight in gold is for those that have a 3D printing business. It was so quick for me to be able to test out my sandbag design, and that's where I think this printer is worth the money. Actually, now that we are talking about prices, how much is the printer? Well, if you're an early bird, it's coming in at $799, and using my discount code, which you can see down below, you can get an extra $50 off, making it only $749. There is an affiliate link in the description, and I will get some kickback from purchases at no extra cost to you. The early bird specials run from the 19th of September to October the 4th, 2024. After the early bird pricing ends, the printer will be $999, so if it is something that you think you'd like, then the early bird really does get the worm. The Past 10 resin is $32.99 for 1 kilogram, which, like I said earlier, is identical in formula to the Part 10 that I was using for some of these prints. And the water washable resin is $49.50 per kilogram on early bird and $55 per kilogram afterwards. Would you like to see more videos with this printer? Maybe I can test out some things and see how far I can really push it. Let me know in the comments down below. But if you think that's cool, you should watch this video next, because I combined the depth core of Krieg and a knight to make a killer model. As always, I want to give a huge thanks to all my Patreons and channel members. Without your constant support, none of this is possible, and I'll see you all in a Discord.